Welcome to Here's What I Learned, a podcast for building a hustle-free, wildly successful coaching business. I'm your host, Jackie Hayes, launch strategist and certified online business manager with an obsession for superheroes and a thorough understanding of chicken math. Join my guests and I as we explore the ins and outs of building a feminist coaching business that embraces both mindset and strategy. Now on to this week's episode. Welcome. Today I have Amber Taylor of Amber Taylor Coaching with me. Amber, I'll let you introduce yourself to the listeners.
Yes. Hi, Jackie. I'm so happy to be here today. But like Jackie said, I am Amber Taylor of Amber Taylor Coaching, and I am a pleasure coach. I focus on pleasure and authenticity and basically teaching changemakers how to use pleasure, the vehicle of pleasure, to level up their lives, heal from their internalized trauma, and 10 times their own impact and transformations.
Well, Amber, before we dig into pleasure, I like to ask all my guests a rapid fire question at the start of the episode. And this season, season 3, the question is, if you were going to visit a deserted island alone for 2 weeks, no cell phone reception, no internet, what 3 things would you bring with you?
Oh, okay. Interesting. I already want to cheat. But I want to bring, no internet. I'm trying to think of how I'm ordering food. But I think I want to bring a magical refrigerator that when I open it, it just has what I want to eat inside. I don't think you need internet for that, just belief. But I would also bring a vibrator, and I would bring, let's see. Okay, I'm going to cheat again. I know there's no internet, but I'm going to bring a old iPod with all my Kindles downloaded on them already so that I could just listen to them.
You would not be the first person who's like, my preloaded Kindle or my preloaded, So it's like, no, we're prepared. We're going to just download everything now so that we can deal with it. We have it.
Exactly.
But the magical refrigerator, that is brilliant. There's no Grubhub, so I'm just going to have a magical, like a replicator from Star Trek. So it's all going to be right there. So when I need cheesecake or whatever, it's there.
I love a cheesecake. I got a burger. Sometimes I may want a salad, and I don't have the heart to kill an animal, but I will eat one. So just keep it in the fridge.
So the burger will just show up when you're ready for it.
Right.
Exactly. Well, and I love that your answers actually talk to pleasure and not just one of the things that I wanted to start with. I mean, you talked about the vibrator, which, that is a brilliant idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But one of the things I wanted to talk about first was we're both in the U.S. We're both Midwesterners. There's very much an idea of what pleasure is. And it's a very narrow view of pleasure that is associated with a vibrator or with sex. Can you talk about that a little bit, and then let us know exactly what it is that you mean when you talk about pleasure?
Yes, of course. So pleasure does have a very narrow view of what it is and what people think it is, because of society and how we're socialized and what is acceptable to be fun and enjoyable, and when you are allowed to experience fun and enjoyable things. But pleasure is so personal. It is so subjective, and it really depends on the individual and what they enjoy. So for my practice, I consider pleasure anything that satiates someone, anything that brings them happiness or joy or like just the warm and fuzzies. And that can be sexual and non-sexual. It can be getting off with your partner or by yourself or whatever. And it could also be stepping out in the sun and just being outside, and anything in between. And what's pleasurable for someone is not pleasurable for anyone, but all pleasures consensually are acceptable. And I think we have this narrow view of it because we've been taught what's okay to be pleasurable. And if we don't find those specific things pleasurable, like sex in certain ways, or also pleasure is tied to privilege in the mainstream. So if we don't have the availability to take a 2 week vacation to somebody's beach flying first class, then somehow we get the idea that we aren't available or worthy enough for pleasure. We have to work hard or harder to earn it. Um, but that is not the case. Pleasure is it's a birthright. It is not something to be earned. It is not something that needs to be put off. It's actually something that sustains life. It is part of self care. It is part of self preservation, and it actually lowers your stress, makes you more resilient, and makes it available for you to experience the world outside of pleasure.
Why do you think it's so important for people to bring pleasure into their life? I mean, you touched a little bit on it just there about, it helps with stress and all of those other things, but why is it so important to you personally to make sure that people are bringing more pleasure into their life? Why is this the path that you have gone on?
Yeah, because I see pleasure as a path to people living in their authenticity. Because when we actually acknowledge what we want and what we enjoy and go after it, we're not people pleasing. We're not trying to make things better for other people to enjoy and make them happy at our own expense. We are not trying to be perfect, because perfectionism in itself is this idea of meeting the expectations that society or somebody else, or if everything went right, then this is how it would look. Like, if we're actually just doing what we want and chasing our dreams, we're not subscribing to that. And if you just imagine a world without people pleasing and perfectionism, I have chills right now, but like,
I was going to say, I'm like chilling like completely because I'd never connected pleasure with the people pleasing aspect of it. And
yeah.
also a life without people pleasing and, perfectionism. Like, what would I'd have so much time on my hands.
Yeah, it's like when you think about it on the individual level, what would I do without having to worry about these things? What would I do with like actually chasing my wants, my desires, like walking in my purpose? And then when you think of the ripple out effects of individuals not being people pleasing, not being perfectionists, being their authentic selves, walking in their purpose, doing what they want to do, enjoying their lives. When individuals are doing that, think of the impact on the larger scale of how communities change, of how countries change, of how this entire world changes by people doing what the fuck they want to do and chilling out. Like, yeah, why this is God's work. The source, the universe, that's why I'm here.
What would you say to the people that I know are out there who are going to say, well, it's selfish?
Oh yeah, it is. And it's like we have learned that selfishness is a quote unquote bad thing. That if you are selfish, you're a bad person, and like you're not putting other people first, or you're full of yourself, or you're like whatever. And like my response is, so what? It's like, yes, I am full of myself. Who else am I supposed to be full of? You? Why? What makes you better than me, and why should I invest myself into you? Why shouldn't I take care of myself? Why should I continue to put everybody else's needs and desires and intent before mine? It's like selfishness has become this demon, or this thing that we've demonized, but really we have to look back and see why. And we can find ties to patriarchy, capitalism, white supremacy, and all these things designed to oppress us. So, yes, I'm fucking selfish.
Now, you mentioned earlier the word self care, which has kind of become a buzzword
Mhm.
um, to the point of, almost has lost some of its importance or meaning. How do you see pleasure as self care, not in the, like sell more products and more bath bubbles, but, sometimes I refer to it as soul care instead of self care.
Yes.
What's the tie there between the two, between pleasure and this self care? That's not a
Mhm.
buzzword, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Like pleasure is a form of self care or soul care, because self care and pleasure aren't all happy go lucky, everything's always good. Like it's past the bubble baths and the massages and the facials and the nails. It's so much more than that because it's actually being in relationship with yourself and seeing what you need and seeing where you're lacking and seeing where you can get support. And sometimes, yeah, that's a massage. And sometimes it's a good cry. And sometimes it's talking things out with a friend or a therapist or a coach. And sometimes it's doing really hard work. It doesn't always look nice and relaxing and fun and like, oh, look at me, I'm on a cover of a magazine for pleasure. Like, no, it looks like supporting yourself in whatever necessary ways.
You said the good cry, and as you were saying that, I was like, you know what? There is something pleasurable about a really good cry. Maybe not in the actual moment, but that sigh of relief at the end when it's
It's
all like out
cathartic.
of your, yeah, it's very cathartic and it's definitely a form of self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why do you think we have such a hard time adding pleasure to our day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think it's because we are taught that it's something to be earned. We're taught that it's something that, like, okay, well, do all your work, make sure these things are done, make sure like you're good here, make sure you're good for the future, make sure you have savings, make sure everybody else is good, like, make sure all this is done, and then you can rest, and then you can have a break, and then you can do something nice for yourself. And so we begin to create this relationship to pleasure as this reward or like this thing off in the distance if we do good. Um, and usually that tracks really well with our own versions of perfectionism. So if we do the thing in the exact way that we thought with the exact outcome that we expected, then we can have the pleasure, and if we don't, then we have to keep putting it off because then we use it as this motivator, like once I do this thing in this way then I can have that. But we learn over and over again that like masochism and like self-beratement is not a form of motivation, not a positive one, not a sustainable one. And the more you do that, the way your brain starts relating to pleasure as if it's something dangerous to have because of all the disappointment and the letdown and the fear and stuff that you place between you and your pleasure. So then we start relating to it on a day-to-day basis, like, oh, I can't. I haven't done it. I haven't. It's too far for me. And yeah, did I answer your question? I
Yeah,
think.
I think you did. You did a phenomenal job of it.
Okay. Sometimes I just get on a tangent and I don't know where I end up.
That is fine. That is fine. You know what? Those tangents usually end up even better than, the original thing anyways. So I know for myself, especially after having been a mom and raising a kid and getting tied up in all of that and, or whatever your life circumstances happens to be, it's very easy to lose touch once you're an adult, especially,
Mhm.
about teenage years, to lose touch with what it is that does bring you pleasure. I mean, as a kid, it's you pretty much know it and you live in it until people start
Mhm.
to tell you no. So how do you help your clients get back into touch with what they find pleasurable?
Yeah, it's the exploration. It's the play, it's the experimentation, just trying stuff out. Like, oh, I'm not into that. That's not really my thing, and blah, blah, blah. Like, when's the last time you tried? Never have? 30 years? Bet. Let's do it again. Like, even like, I know some of my older clients don't believe in vibrators, or they didn't when they first came to me, like, oh, sex toys are for people who don't know what they're doing or like don't know how to get the job done. And I'm
They're
like,
missing out,
hey,
man.
you are missing out because this does a job in a way that your fingers cannot. Uh,
And you can use them with your partner too. So it's not like
yes,
you just, oh, yes, exactly.
exactly. There's so many options. There's so many styles that do different things. Like, just even exploring what could work and like finding out what doesn't work for you is very, very valuable information. And it helps steer you in the direction of what does work. But in simplest terms, it is curiosity. It is working with them and like just seeing what they tell me in conversation and passing and other things that we've worked on, and figuring out how to incorporate their own life experience and seeing where they do already have pleasure in their lives, but maybe don't recognize it as such. And then the practice of actually being with it, like, oh, like that's what pleasure is. That's what it feels like. Because again, we can get this idea of what it is, grow this distance from it, and then not even recognize when we are feeling it or in it or have it available to us. So, yeah, reconnecting with the actual experience of pleasure, as well as experimenting and searching and having fun finding it.
Now, when I was a kid, my whole family, we love to draw. But I know that I stopped drawing probably around sixth, seventh grade, when you start to self-esteem, all those other crazy things start to kick in because I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted it to look. The perfectionism kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
And several years back, I was like, need to start bringing more pleasurable things into my life. I need to start doing things for me. What did I like doing as a kid? Because if I
Mm-hmm.
liked doing it as a kid, what I probably would like doing it as an adult too. What brought me joy? What was fun play? And so I started to draw again, and I could hear that perfectionism kick back in again, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously sucks the pleasure right out of drawing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help your clients, quiet that perfectionism so that they can enjoy the pleasure?
Yeah, it's like recognizing where it's coming from, like who's actually talking when you have that, oh, it's not good enough. You could draw that dog better. Like it doesn't look like a real dog. It like looks like it, whatever. Who's actually talking there? It's usually not you. It may be ego, it may be some kind of conditioned or socialized voice, but really separating yourself from that voice that's saying those things and looking at what they're saying, knowing that you don't have to believe it. It's not something that's just automatically true and you have to subscribe to it. Because I am sure that the drawings that you drew, somebody will look at them and be like, holy shit, Picasso. Like, or like they will see the beauty in it, and it may not exactly be like what we imagine in our head, but the only way to get to that place we imagine is consistently trying to go, is the practice, is the like allowing mistakes, is the like, oh wait, actually I had this idea but this is working out in a different way, but I actually like it. And allowing that play, allowing yourself to like let down the voice in your head that says that you're not doing it right. Like, will the world end if this voice is wrong? And really just working with them to understand that voice, understand where it's coming from, understand if they want to listen to it or not, and how to separate from it and choose the voice that is actually supporting them.
I think something you said there really connected with me when you said practice. I
Mhm.
think in our culture, we're so goal oriented that we make our pleasure a goal as opposed to a practice. Like
Yes.
we're trying to achieve something with our pleasure as opposed to just enjoying the act of pleasure.
Exactly. And that's what robs us of pleasure because it's literally everywhere, but we expect it to be in this specific form. But I was actually talking to someone last week kind of about this. She like didn't even recognize that she had pleasure in her life. And then we like went over that and then she's, oh, I have too much pleasure. So then we went over that too. But then she was talking about like hobbies. Like she has this professional engineering job. It pays the bills and all the things, but she likes writing and making music. But she's been stopping herself from writing a song because she's like, oh, well, if I'm good at this, then I have to make money at it. Then I have to change my careers and like this whole thing. And it's just like, no. And so it was that voice that was telling her she had to do these things and be perfect. And I was like, does that voice come when you brush your teeth? She's like, no. And I was like, oh, so you don't think that you have to be a dentist every time you like put some toothpaste on a toothbrush? She's like, no. And it's just like, well, yeah, this is you just doing it. Like you just get to write words, write music, sing a song. It doesn't have to be this grand thing. It can just be you making music.
We were talking, and that reminds me of what you were talking about earlier about privilege. And
Mm,
I think a lot of times when we think of pleasure, we think of these big, grandiose activities that take time or money, like going to the spa or taking, a long vacation. And as we're sitting here talking about pleasure, I look over to the left of me, and I have three Funko Pop figures of Marvel superheroes that I
nice.
adore, and they make me smile every single time I see them, which is a moment of pleasure. And I
Hmm.
think we tend to forget that it doesn't have to be a spa visit or a big money investment, that no matter what your income is, no matter how much time you have available, it's still possible to add pleasure to your life.
Yes.
What would be some maybe suggestions that you would give people to try? Like if you don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of money in your day-to-day life, let's start here. Why don't you try these things? What would be some of those suggestions?
Yeah, I actually love the example that you just gave because pleasure is always available. We just have to turn towards it. So, like you said, oh, I have these like figurines, like, and I have a ton of stuff on my desk that I love. But one thing I'm looking at right now is I have this little purple rock with the Prince symbol on it that one of my friends, there's a whole backstory to it. But like anytime I see a little purple rock, I get heart flutters. Like it just makes me happy. And remembering the story behind it, the people involved, like how I felt when I got this in the mail and I opened it and it was so exciting. And like, oh my God, she was thinking of me. And like how I can always call on that by just having this rock close to me. It's like I'm sure that everybody has these things in their life that they can kind of just ignore. Like they put the rock in the drawer and be like, oh, that was nice. Let me just like not look at it for a while. But it's actually looking and seeing what's already around you, seeing how much pleasure you already do have. And that's what allows you to create more. That what allows you to seek more.
Do you consider pleasure a form of activism?
I do. I do. And it's not as a or as hands-on as maybe like other forms, but similar what we were talking about at the beginning of the call, prioritizing your own pleasure changes lives. It changes the world. It like shifts us into more of what we are designed and purposed to be doing. And when we are seeking our own pleasure and what makes us happy, we also aren't trying to control others and the way that other people experience pleasure and what they're supposed to do. So even just imagining like maybe one area where you feel controlled in your life, like not even like going after like the big targets because they matter too, but like where you feel controlled in your life, and just imagine if whatever you feel controlled by found a different avenue of listening to themselves, hearing themselves out, and finding a way for their own joy outside of you, if that was released. And just think about all the levels of oppression that can, I don't know if dissipate is necessarily the right word, but dissipate because people are taking their own pleasure into their own hands. And just continuing that process and continuing to be able to seek out what works for the individual. And then when we grow that from the individual to groups, and what's like works for these groups and how they seek it and how they find things that makes the collective better, it can't help but change the world. So yes, I do think that pleasure is activism.
And we're talking about pleasure in your overall life, but I'd like to narrow it down just a little bit now, and that is, how do we bring pleasure into our work? How do we bring pleasure into how we run our businesses? What would you say to that? What kind of advice would you give?
Yeah, that there is no right way, or designed way where I say like, hey, you set up your business like this, you have all these mappings, and then you'll have a pleasurable business. Like again, it is subjective and explorative, which I am constantly iterating how I prioritize pleasure in my own business. But I think for me personally, I had to detox first from the traditional way of doing business. Like when I first quit my job, I was like, okay, now I have to figure out how to fill 40 hours. I can't work less than 40 hours. So let me just find some shit to do. And I was like beginning to burn myself out with like random tasks, just trying to work a schedule that I thought I was supposed to work. And then like eventually I got the idea that like, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. And I can figure out what actually works for me. So where like listening to myself, listening to my body, and what times of day do I actually naturally like to work? Like, is that a 8 hour span, or is it time blocks throughout the day? Like, do I start at 9, or do I like work at nighttime, like when other people are like eating dinner and done for the day, and like just finding like what works for me. And then in regards of like how I run my business, what do I do, how do I market, and all the things, like I am also an ADHD brain, so structure is not my jam. But I follow my interests, and I trust, like I have a lot of trust and surrender, if you will, that I am not the only one in this relationship. Like there is the universe, there is the divine, there is my clients. There are like so many other aspects that contribute to my day and my pleasure. And I know I'm responsible for it, but I am not responsible for creating 100% of it. So being able to work with those other systems as well, and just keeping myself open to pivoting and changing and finding the ebbs and flows uh, whenever they come up.
I can imagine that there are people that, I'm going to use like an analogy of intuitive eating. Well, if I
Mm-hmm.
just eat whatever my body wants to eat, all I'll ever eat is chocolate cake, and I'll never lose the weight, or I'll never accomplish my goals, or anything like that. And I can see people being like, well, if I just follow pleasure, I'll never, have a successful business because I'll never get anything done because all I'll ever do is, sit on a beach and drink martinis or margaritas or whatever it happens to be. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of trust or a misunderstanding of how our bodies and our brains actually work. like we may think like, oh, I only want chocolate cake because chocolate cake's good. But it's like, have you ever tried to just eat cake for like even a day? It like sucks. Like you respond to it and you're like, oh my God, like I feel so lackadaisical. Like I don't have that much energy. I need to eat something green. Like I need a piece of fruit. Like you actually crave it. So your body naturally doesn't stay in one polarized end of just like super sweet, super quote unquote unhealthy or whatever. Um, it it asks for what it needs. It's going to ask you to drink water. It's going to ask you to have fiber. It's going to ask you to have carbs. It's going to ask you to have all these things because it knows what it needs. And same thing with pleasure. You know what you need. And the it's living a pleasureful life. It's not all like, again, gumdrops and daisies and rainbows and all the things. It's life is 50-50, meaning that there's some bad shit too. It's just the way it is. And the capacity at which we're willing to experience our pleasure is directly correlated to the capacity at which we are willing to experience pain or trauma. If you ignore that side, you're not going to have a good time. If you only have a good time, like some shit's going to come out. Like it's just, you can't have one without the other. So to those people, it is impossible to just live on the edge of everything's fine all the time and I'm just having a great time and nothing else exists. Like you can't, you won't. It's just like your body will not allow you to only eat chocolate cake. You will not allow yourself to only experience pleasure. Like life, your brain, your body is going to come in and tell you what you need.
It sounds to me like experiencing pleasure really comes down to self-trust and being willing to listen to your brain, to your body, and trusting that it's giving you what you need as a full human.
Yes, yes. And trusting that you know your body knows more than what society has told you. So we think, oh my God, if I like take off work and just sleep, like I can't sleep for like 3 days. And it's like, why? It's like, well, the weekend's only 2 days. And it's like, so like, like if you need 3 days to rest, then you need 3 days to rest and trusting that that is okay, even if it conflicts with the way society told you how to do it.
If somebody was just starting out their coaching business or whatever business they happen to have, what kind of advice would you give them so that they kind of start off with this practice as opposed to looking back and being like, oh, now I really wish I had added this too? Because sometimes it's easier to just start with the practices instead of trying to reinvent the whole wheel.
Yeah, I'd say keep curiosity close of what are my interests? Where can I follow my interests here? How can I make this fun? And I love that question because it can bring so much creativity outside of like, okay, I have to send emails to an email list and I should do that X number of times a week, or and I should say these things and I should summarize my podcast and like whatever. And I have all these shoulds. And it's like, how can I make this fun? You can reapproach the entire way that you do the thing. It's still doing the thing, but making it fun for you. And also like just being cognizant of am I doing something because I think I should, or am I doing something because I want to? And there are arguably some things that you have to quote unquote should do. Bookkeeping, taxes, I'd say definitely.
Those are kind of important ones. I mean, you could outsource those though too. So
you could outsource them, but it's like something has to happen there.
yes.
But like a lot of things are free game. A lot of things you're making up. Like just recognize that you are inventing your business and no one else has done your business exactly the way that you have or intend to before. So you don't have to do the things the way other people do them. Like always check back, check in. What makes sense for me? What is fun? Where are my interests?
As you're saying that, it's reminding me of something I try and keep in the back of my head of, everybody's doing reels now and that's the way, or whatever it happens to be. Well, somebody was a trendsetter. Somebody started to do the new thing, and you don't have to do what everybody's doing, and you may end up being the trendsetter. So
exactly. And just because that's the new thing also doesn't mean that you have to do it. Like, what do they say? Like the commercials. Oh, when I was a kid, they had like Dare and Reach and all this stuff. And like, everybody's doing drugs. Are you going to do drugs? And it's like, well, me, I was like, yeah. But it's like, you don't have to do a thing just because everybody else is doing it.
Yep. And that doesn't necessarily mean that your company is going to fail, your business isn't going to work out.
Right.
So people are always looking for someone who isn't necessarily doing if all you're doing is following trends, are you really being authentic? And then are you actually reaching the people who really will connect with you? So.
Yeah. Your people will always gravitate towards you. They will always find you. May not be in the timeline that you want it to be, but they're coming. They're on the way.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would like to cover?
I'm just going to say no.
Okay.
Whatever is out there is what's supposed to be.
There we go.
Don't get me to thinking.
Where can the listeners find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram and TikTok at Amber Taylor Coaching. Also on Facebook at Amber Taylor Coaching. You can find my website, www.ambertaylorcoaching, and my podcast, The Pleasure Priority, on all streaming platforms.
Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
And that's it for today's episode. Please be sure to share it and leave a review. For show notes and transcripts, visit JackieHayes.me. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to my email list. You'll receive weekly launch strategy tips straight to your inbox, plus access to my launch strategy resource library. Thanks for joining. Until next time, keep on learning.